Good afternoon, fellow Ambazonians. Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, July the 25th, 2024. July the 25th, 2024. And I am delighted to have you here with me on the set of the War Zone right here on ABS TV. So we are bringing you this show today with quite a bit happening on the ground and internationally. I know that Comrade Chris was out yesterday with some information. We will maybe touch on a few of those topics, but we have some new topics that we'd like to cover today. But before I do that, I would like to call on you to please do me a favor and share the link. Call your friends, brothers, sisters, comrades, fellow comrades in the struggle. I'll tell them that the war zone is on right here on ABS TV, and they should come in so that we can commune as comrades and share ideas on how to continue to prosecute this liberation war that was brought onto us by La République du Cameroon. We did not declare the war. They brought it onto us, and we had no choice but to welcome it because we are fighting for our own very survival. That is why we are here. So I'm glad to have you watching. Please do me a favor and share the link, so we can have the network populated. We have enough people watching either on Facebook or YouTube. I think more people have been preferring YouTube because of some of the complications that Facebook has been giving us. Most people are now preferring YouTube, which is fine as long as you're able to view the show. And of course, we have our people on Ground Zero who are watching by way of the satellite TV, and some are watching by way of Roku. So thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the War Zone. We have a few things that we will have to cover, but before we do that, I'd like to take a moment to really congratulate and commend the brave work that our restoration fighters have been doing, and they have been standing up to the aggression of La République du Cameroon for close to 8 years now. This is something that they thought would take 2 weeks. Here we are, 8 years and counting, and we are still standing, and we're standing strong. We are not about to give up. We will never give up until the quest for the liberation of the southern Cameroon and Ambazonia is achieved. That is a promise, and you can take it to the bank. Now, fellow Ambazonians, again, I would say I want to really take a moment and to salute our brave warriors, the genuine fighters, I must say, genuine fighters. Apparently, not everyone who is holding a gun on behalf of the Ambazonian struggle or Ambazonian liberation war is doing the right thing. So we are talking about those who are genuinely taking the fight to the enemy. And we say to them, you are doing a great job. Keep up with the good work. Keep up with what you are doing. History will never forget you. For those who have chosen to go the other way and to turn around and victimize the very people that you are supposed to protect, we are calling on you to change your ways. Change your ways. We have seen things happening to people like that. Those who have chosen to take a fight against their own people instead of against the enemy. Things have been happening to them. But we don't like this. It is not something that it does not amuse us. We see no satisfaction in it. And we just want them to do the right thing so that they too will be there when Ambazonia's flag is finally hoisted in Buea, our capital. So please, if you have taken up the defense of our homeland, there are certain things that must be done to make sure that that objective is achieved. If you have found yourself doing things that are contrary to that objective, then it is time for you to examine yourself and do the right thing. And during the course of this program, we will enumerate some of the things that, as an Ambazonian restoration fighter, you must not do. Things that you must not do as an Ambazonian restoration fighter. We will enumerate some of those, and I will urge you to make sure to listen carefully and follow them. Those who serve their people genuinely gain the protection from the enemy from their people. That means their people will be there to protect them against the enemy. So when you are out there and you are harassing and torturing and extorting from your own people, you make yourself um, a part of the enemy. You become part of the enemy because your people don't no longer see you as a liberator. They no longer see you as a savior. They see you as an inconvenience, something that should be gotten rid of. And that is what has been happening to some of those we would have loved to call our liberation fighters, but they turned to be something else, but liberators. That said, so to those who are doing the right thing, please keep up, continue to do the right thing. Maybe others will learn from you and do the same. And a typical example would be the Bui Unity warriors and those in Boyo. And we have seen some spectacular actions coming from Manu and Meme as well, and sporadically areas of Meza. But there are some rogue elements operating between Momo and Meza that we need to take care of. And just today, we got these pictures coming in from Bui of an attack on an enemy convoy. And this is what we are saying, that if you are dedicated, focused, disciplined, patriotic, doing what is right in defense of your homeland, you will be honored and glorified. And you can realize that you hardly hear that a fighter has fallen in Bui. You see, that is what you do as a restoration or liberation fighter. That is what you do. You go after the enemy, not after your own very people. You go after the enemy. That's the right thing to do. Do this and you'll be honored and glorified and praised because you are a patriot. You are a liberator. You see, and as a liberation fighter, you are not supposed to go out there and expose yourself. Like I said, we will go through all those things that you should not be doing. That is a great job by our liberation fighters in Bui, and I say, great job, great job, great job. That's what we want. If you do this, who is going to come out and blame you? Nobody. Nobody will come out and blame you for anything because you are doing the right thing. You are going after the enemy, not after your own very citizens. We encourage you and we will support you now and forever. So again, great job to our brave fighters of Bui. Now, to advance on to other news, we also have had this so-called lockdown that was announced by some individuals for every Wednesday or something. I think Comrade Chris covered this extensively during his outing yesterday, but I just want to emphasize again that, fellow Amazonians, there is no need for us to institute unnecessary lockdowns to cause more hardship on our people, lockdowns that add no value to this liberation war. There is no need to cause more pain on our people by saying Wednesdays should also be locked down, just as Wednesday, without any rationale for it. Therefore, this interim government has distanced itself and condemns and goes ahead to urge our citizens on ground zero to ignore this unnecessary call for lockdown on Wednesday. It is uncalled for, it's misguided, it brings no benefit to our liberation war, and it will cause more pain to our people on ground zero, something we are trying to avoid at all costs. So there is no lockdown or whatever on Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, go out and carry out your business as usual. No lockdowns on Wednesday. Now, again, with regards to the school program or school curriculum, school calendar, I should say, I think Comrade Chris also covered that yesterday extensively and emphasized that we do encourage the opening of community schools throughout the territory of the Southern Cameroon and Bazonia. That is encouraged. We are not against education. Again, I emphasize, we are not against education. What we are against is indoctrination in the name of education. We are against indoctrination, brainwashing in the name of education. And that is what La République du Cameroon has been doing over the years. That is why they decided to ignore our history and were teaching us something else. And they send French-speaking teachers to come into our classrooms and corrupt the minds of our children. And we are saying no to that. Henceforth, we will not allow that. Therefore, community schools are allowed to open. They will open on a date that will be given by the leaders of this liberation struggle as they continue with their consultations. That date will be released sometime soon. The date will be released sometime soon. So whenever La République du Cameroon says schools will open, their schools can open in their country. And Bazonians will determine when schools will open or reopen within the territory of the Southern Cameroon and Bazonia. We no longer take instructions from them. The French language is banned. Signs that bear the French language anywhere in our schools are prohibited. And the teaching of French in our schools by anyone, especially French Cameroon citizens, is prohibited. I think this was covered yesterday extensively, again, by Comrade Chris during his program. So I just wanted to emphasize again on these points so that you take them, you understand what is going to happen in the days ahead. Don't allow yourselves to be victimized. Do not put yourselves in a compromising situation that you may get hurt unnecessarily. Follow these instructions and you will be safe. The operation of La République du Cameroon schools in our territory, so-called government schools or bilingual schools, is completely outlawed. It is not allowed anywhere in Ambazonia. We will no longer allow them to teach our children things that are not just wrong, but outdated. In the days and months ahead, this interim government, in collaboration with other movements within this struggle, this liberation war, will come up with a curriculum that is commensurate with the changing times, a curriculum that reflects the moments we are in, that takes into consideration the technological advances that have occurred and our historical context. So these things will come to bear because whatever was handed down to us from several decades ago is what our children are still learning now. And that education is outdated. It does not serve the purpose of today's demands, economically, socially, and otherwise. So we have to update our curriculum to reflect the moment we are living in, and that will be done as time goes on. So I just want to emphasize on these things, fellow Ambazonians. I would like to bring in at this point my panel of two. I think Chairman Patrick has been on for some time, as well as I believe Chairman Jackson should be on. So if you are in, Chairman Patrick and Chairman Jackson, I would like to see you so we can get on with the rest of the program. Chairman Patrick, okay, I can see you now.
Thank you so much, Comrade Mike, and I hope Chairman Jackson is also here. I just want to say great salutation to all the Ambazonian restoration forces and everybody that is dedicated and fighting for this liberation war. And as you know, we are here for the long haul, and we are going to fight until we get what we're fighting for. We cannot begin a fight and end halfway. And those who have dropped out of this struggle or have been tired, yes, it's time for you to reflect on it and join the foe, because we have to take it to the final end. So we're going to have a great show, and if there is anything that anybody has, you can put the questions here. We'll be able to answer these questions for you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for coming on, Chairman Patrick. I think Chairman Jackson may be coming on later, but we will know when he's here. Let's carry on. Going through the news on social media during the week, I came across this news item, and it concerned the African Union and ECOWAS. And as much as it does not pertain to Ambazonia specifically, but it's something that is it very much relates to what we are undergoing, the injustices we are suffering today, and it concerns Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, and people who have also been subjected to the injustices and exploitation of the French, and who have managed to extricate themselves from such domination. And you would think that institutions such as ECOWAS and the African Union will applaud these brave brothers for having the courage to do what is best for their people. But uh, I saw a video which I would like the studio to play so that we discuss it in context, so that our viewers can see exactly what we saw and why we thought it was necessary for us to discuss it. Because these are things that we too can learn from and know how to continue on this liberation quest, taking into considerations those we think are our brothers, their mindset, and the way they will view us, or they view us even as we struggle to liberate ourselves. So it is very important for us to understand uh, uh, how even others who ought to be our brothers are behaving on the African continent, not because they want to, but because they are being egged on by others. If the studio has that video, I would like for us to watch it, so that yeah.
Security was present in Abuja yesterday during the meeting, and what he said will marvel you. He said that Sahel state pullout is unacceptable, that there is no way both Africa Union and ECOWAS will accept it.
Excellencies, the African Union is indeed very proud of ECOWAS. We advocate for a united community. We advocate and we fully support the unity of ECOWAS. The withdrawal by 3 countries is unacceptable to the African Union, and we believe in one ECOWAS.
Now, after saying that it will be unacceptable to allow Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to go, they began to discuss about having a regional force to restore constitutional order in economic community of West African states. At the end, They came up that the conclusion would be to have a regional force to restore constitutional order.
My African brothers and sisters, you all have heard what the AU commissioner said, that the withdrawal of those three states, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger from ECOWAS, is unacceptable to them. As in how? These three leaders have decided to chase the West away and develop their countries by themselves. And it's a problem to these our ancestors who do not have balls to say enough is enough to the West. It's a problem to them. They are even planning on creating a special force to restore some crazy kind of constitutional order. I don't know what that means, but nothing must happen to these three leaders. Nothing must happen to these three states. And we, the African youth, we can do that. They have official websites. The AU official website is there. The ECOWAS official website is there. They are also on Twitter. We need to storm their pages and tell them what we want. The unity of this continent is paramount right now. We must not allow them bring down these three states that have decided to show us the way.
Now, I'm sure you all listen to that, fellow Ambassadors. You all listen to that. You all listen to that. And there are three things I want us to take note of. First thing, he said the decision by Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso to remove themselves from ECOWAS is unacceptable and must not be allowed. And my question is, says who? Is it compulsory for people to belong to ECOWAS, or is it voluntary? Why should it be unacceptable for these three nations that are doing what is best for their people? Why is it unacceptable for them to extricate themselves from ECOWAS? And now they say they are, the second thing is, they say they are now forming a regional force that will bring order to the region. You understand what what they're saying there? It simply means that they are being sponsored by external forces or being influenced by external powers to clamp down on their own brothers who have dared to free themselves from the shackles of colonization. Because Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso have dared to break away from the shackles of exploitation, where their resources were looted for free, their own brothers who belong to the so-called ECOWAS say, no, how dare you break free from the shackles of slavery or exploitation. And then now, with this issue of ECOWAS, we will remember that just some months ago, or about last year, or was it 2 years, there was the willingness for the ECOWAS states to come out with their own currency. And what happened to it? Macron made several trips to Ivory Coast and convinced the president of Ivory Coast to withdraw Ivory Coast from that arrangement. And since then, we've never heard of the ECO again. And this is an organization that wants us to believe that they have the best interest of their people at heart. You are trying to establish your own currency. A foreign power steps in and tells you not to do it because they are benefiting from the status quo, and you accept not to have that currency and you allow them to continue to exploit your people. We have been told severally, we have listened to Ambassador Arikana, and she explained how much money France is looting from Africa each year because of the use of this worthless thing they call CFA franc. And that is why it was impossible for the ECO to come into existence. And now these brave, patriotic leaders have had the courage to do what is right for their people. And guess what? ECOWAS, that is being whipped on their behind by France and others, are saying, how dare you? How dare you remove yourself from this mess that we find ourselves in? So, Chairman Patrick, I could not resist covering this news item because what these people are saying here is exactly what we ourselves are suffering here. Because I would like to hear your comments before I say anything further on this matter. Chairman Patrick.
Comrade Mike, sometimes when you listen or watch some of these African organizations like the African Union and ECOWAS, you really question yourself. You look at the history of what they have accomplished since these organizations were created. There is nothing to show. These young people who have taken over power in their territory have seen that getting involved with these organizations is being just like following a ship that is going to the ocean where there is no bridge. Most of these countries that have been members of ECOWAS and African Union, they have never had any independence to make any positive decisions for their own people. They are being controlled remotely by the international bodies like the French and other European partners or Western partners. So these young guys have seen that it's time for them to make decisions that will affect and impact their own people. So when African Union get up to talk about African issues, they should also come up and say, okay, we need to be solving some of the problems in Africa, not waiting for other countries that have realized that the African Union is useless to start coming up like, we cannot accept that. What can they accept? Why can they not even say, oh, some of these leaders have been there for 20, 30, 40 years. It's time for them to make sure their countries are developing. Why can't they even look at all those things? Why do you have to be blindsided when everything is favoring you and you jump on the other side to jump on people that are making the positive moves in their own country?
Chairman Patrick, let's just take one critical example here. Let's look at uranium that has been exploited in the Sahel for so many years now. And these brave leaders took over and they changed the price, which previously they were paying pocket change for uranium. And they are now selling uranium at the price it ought to be sold for. And who is benefiting? Of course, their people are benefiting from this influx of new money, which was always there, but was being looted by France and others. The money now is going into the coffers of the host countries that have these resources. Now, why is this a bad thing as viewed by ECOWAS and the African Union? Why is this a bad thing to Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali? Why is this bad that they are having this new influx of money from their resources? Can someone explain to me why it is bad? Chairman Patrick.
Well, that is just the problem with this. They are not doing this because they really care about the people of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. They are doing this because they are being pushed by their colonial masters to say, if you let these guys go, some of you will be losing power in your own countries. If you look at, I always look at African Union as like a toothless bulldog, where they cannot even come to a United Nations and say we need to have one permanent member in the United Nations, but they want to fight their own brothers behind
exactly
in their backyard.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So when we look at some of these things, you just ask, what is in the minds of these politicians? What is in the minds of those who think or those who want to make sure Africa is progressing? if you see them say they are trying to put a force to tackle or talk about the civil or whatever kind of ruling they want in these countries, they should have put up a force in Africa that is going to build. We don't want to even talk about democracy because we know Africa has been destroyed by the Western world because they don't want to see a democratic system, but a system that even if people are changing, people are coming with brand new ideas that is going to make Africa to be a continent that there will be innovation. But if you look at it today, like you brought an example of Ivory Coast. When Africans came together, they wanted to institute a currency that was going to help them. If you look at the African continent, is that not like the United States? Even though the population might be more than the United States, but the size might be close to what the United States size is. They are using the same currency, and even the European Union. Why are they able to do this and Africans will not do it? If you leave Cameroon to Nigeria or you leave Nigeria to Benin, you are looking at doing exchange. What is that about? So African Union should focus on what they can do that is going to facilitate and improve a business climate in their territory instead of looking at what people are doing that is positive for their own people. If the African Union was doing that for the whole of Africa, these people will not be doing that for their own people.
You ask the question. You ask the question. Why is it that they are not fighting to make sure that Africa has a seat at the United Nations or the Security Council? Africa, with its size, its population, its wealth, they are not represented. But a small France is a permanent member, and the whole continent of Africa is not represented. That to them is not important. Look at the conflicts within the continent. You have war going on in Sudan. You have the war that's been going on in the southern Cameroon and Tanzania. You have a turmoil going on in the DRC. There are conflict regions, things that they ought to pay attention to and try to resolve. No, they don't see that. To them, it doesn't mean anything. They are more eager to protect the interests of foreign powers than to protect their own very people. And they have the audacity to say that these three brave leaders that have taken their country away from the exploitation of the West should not be allowed to do so. It is just so insulting, and I think it's shameful. I think personally, the ECOWAS and the African Union are redundant. They are of no use. They serve no purpose to the people of the African continent. And I think these structures should be completely dismantled and some other structure established that can truly serve the interests of the African continent. That is what I believe. And that's how I end this discussion. These two structures, the African Union and ECOWAS, they are useless and should be completely dismantled so that the people can come together with the mindset of leaders like those in Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, taking the lead to establish a structure that would truly serve the interests of the African continent. What we have now is completely worthless.
Comrade Mike.
Final statement on this topic, Chairman Patrick.
Comrade Mike, one thing that I look at the Africans to be like they're selling themselves indirectly without thinking what is the future of our continent. If you look at what they did a few years back, the African Union, they gave China offered to build the African Union headquarters. Mm-hmm. I'm asked myself, what is wrong with Africa? China is building that headquarters to exploit because they pay back exploitation of minerals in other African countries. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Why can they not use this mineral in the world market and use the money to construct that?
To construct it themselves.
What is wrong with them?
And then China built the thing and they bought the whole building
And
and they
bought the
are
whole
listening
thing.
to everything that they discuss.
So
They
that is the
planted
unfortunate
bombs
part of the
everywhere.
Africans and Africa that we're dealing with. But unfortunately, the young generation is not going to let this go for too long.
All right, Chairman Patrick, let's move on to something else. There was another video that came out where the colonial duo of La Republique's capital, I think, is banned any public demonstration and said that anyone who violates it will be expelled from that city. Would not that they will be arrested. They will simply be expelled. That means you will be removed from that city, so you will not live there anymore. And again, I could have just looked at this story and passed, but I think there's some undercurrent to this story. These people already know what is coming their way, and they are afraid. They are trying to preempt what will happen. They want to make sure that they put in place fear in the minds of the people, because they know that their transition from dictator Paul Biya, who has been there for forever, they are very, very afraid of what will happen, and they are trying to lay the groundwork to quell any uprising that may happen. But I don't think this will happen. But I don't know if the studio has that video, if we can watch it a little bit to see what this colonial deal said. I think there was a report by some foreign media house about what is happening here in La République du Cameroon. And it's very strange that people who say they are practicing democracy will try to put gag orders on people with differing opinions and not to allow them to speak out when they have differences with the trajectory of their so-called government. And they are saying these people, nobody is allowed to come out and protest. And in a country where they say they practice democracy, they say it's not just democracy, it is advanced democracy, whatever that means. I don't know what that means, but to them, they are practicing advanced democracy, and they have one sick and tired man who's been there forever. Look at Joe Biden, who is even younger than Paul Biya, and he has been told not to run again. But Paul Biya is there, 90-something years. He's still kicking. And they are still planning to make him run again in 2025, as they say. I don't know if he will be using crutches or I don't know how he will get around to stand for the election. After all, the last time he never campaigned and he won, right? So if the studio has that video, let's view it. If not, we can just, I don't know if Chairman Patrick, have you watched that video?
A senior administrative official in Cameroon's central region of Mfondi, which has the capital city Yaoundé, has warned that protests in the city would not be tolerated. Emmanuel Mariel Jikdent, who is the region senior divisional officer, said people who protest against state institutions or use any form of communication to destabilize the government would be deported to other towns outside Yaoundé. Jikdent, who did not specify the destination towns, termed protests a disturbance to public order. According to the Cameroon news agency, Jikdent did not reveal the period of excommunication and what would be required for one to be allowed back to Yaoundé. However, the Cameroonian law does not give an administrative officer powers to deport a citizen, and Jikdent's announcement is most likely a case of regulatory overreach. The official's remarks are in contravention of Cameroon's constitution, which says the freedom of assembly as well as the right to strike shall be guaranteed under the conditions fixed by law. The Constitution further says no person shall be harassed on grounds of his philosophical or political opinions or beliefs. Law laws governing protests in Cameroon state that people planning a peaceful assembly must notify the head of the district or the subdivision where the protests would be held. The notice must be filed 3 days before the assembly. In the notice, the organizer's name must be given, purpose of meeting stated, and the date and time communicated. At the same time, the protests must have an executive council made up of 3 people who would be tasked with ensuring the demonstrators act peacefully. The 3-member council is also expected to prohibit speeches likely to incite the public. Those planning to hold demonstrations on highways must submit their notices at least 7 days in advance. Cameroon has both French and English-speaking communities, and it has witnessed regular protests as certain groups push for separation. The government has often cracked down on secessionists. In March this year, the state outlawed 2 opposition coalitions. Cameroon's president, Paul Biya, has been in power since 1982 and is serving his 7th term. During the last election in 2018, there was a wave of protests after Biya's re-election was challenged. Opposition leader Maurice Kamto, who ran against Biya, was arrested alongside 200 of his supporters in January 2019. Kamto was charged with inciting insurrection, but the charges were dropped in October that year. Cameroon's presidential election will be held in 2025, and it remains to be seen whether 91-year-old Biya, who has been in power for 42 years, would seek another mandate.
And there you have it. There you have it, Mr. Paul Biya. Chairman Patrick, I think this has nothing to do with the protest that whoever was trying to do out there. It is all about 2025. This is all about 2025. They are laying the groundwork for the aggression that will be brought against anyone who will come out to protest against their rigged election again. That is all they are trying to do now. And that is one thing that they now find themselves between a rock and a hard place. On the one side, they have their transition from the walking zombie, Mr. Biya, being a problem. And on the one side, they have the Amazonian liberation struggle to deal with. So they are faced with these 2 things. They have been trying to see how they can suppress our liberation quest, but they have not been able to do it, because that's what they are waiting to do before they can move on with the transition, because that alone will bring its own problems. So they want to solve one problem in order to be able to focus on the other, but that's not going to happen. The Amazonian liberation struggle is on, and Amazonians will not give up until Amazonia is free. But what we saw there is, you cannot say that anyone who comes out to protest will be deported. You deport people from one country to another country. How can you deport someone from a city within one country to another, except if they are talking about Amazonians who are living in their territory? That is well understood, because any Amazonian living in Yaoundé is a foreigner. If they are talking about Amazonians being deported from that country, we can understand. But the people who were being referred to were their own very citizens. So how are you going to deport your own citizen from your own country? Is something I'm yet to understand. Chairman Patrick, what is this colonial deal trying to do here?
Well, sometimes they think they are being proactive to prepare themselves for what is about to befall them. But unfortunately, the youth of their country are ready to fight this time. These colonial administrators, what they are doing is just instructions from maybe their bosses telling them, okay, you need to do this. You are the quarter head of this town. This is what you are supposed to do. These guys know very clearly when they start talking about deportation, they are referring to our people who are in their territory, because you do not deport. If any of your citizen is committing a crime that is punishable or is to an extent that is putting the risk of your people, you lock them up or you exile them. You do not deport people. to their own country. So are they saying that Nigerians will be in La Republic protesting? So it's one of those things that you just watch and you see what they are trying to do. If I can remember, last week there was an audio or some thing circulating on social media about one of the directors of the hydrocarbon who has been there since 1993. He
Yes.
was supposed to be replaced 2 weeks ago or last week, but the date of his replacement and the person that was supposed to come there with the Secretary General at the presidency, that guy locked the office and said there's no
They locked
meeting in
the
my
place
office.
up.
And said nobody's coming here. And then he said President Paul Biya should come tell him to leave this
and tell
position.
him to leave.
So you can understand this country is not run by whoever they're calling their president. This country is like if on a free fall, and there are so many people hanging on the side, everybody just trying to maintain and make sure their territory is safe. And you can see for 7 years today, the only minister or the only person that has been maybe given a position of responsibility is Atanganji. Every other minister has been in that same position since this liberation war started. That tells you that nobody's running the country. And everybody say, okay, this is my territory, this is my ministry, you are not changing me. Because if you change me, I will leak the secret, or I will do this, I will do that. So it is a free fall, and what the DIO is doing, the DIO is also making sure he maintains his position as the DIO of that territory. But they are preparing themselves because they know the youth are determined. They are seeing it. They are seeing it. Even Maurice Kamto has already talked to them.
It is just the country is just in a wait and see situation. Okay, they don't know what to do. Everybody is just transfixed. They don't know what they don't know how to get out of this quagmire that they brought onto themselves. That is why for those of us Ambazonians who, for one reason or the other, may at some point feel discouraged or things are taking too long or they are being slow. No, the urgency is not on our part. The responsibility is on La Republique du Cameroon to prove that they can govern. If they think that they are in control in our territory, let them govern. Have you noticed that the mode of transportation for all colonial administrators within our territory is the Amoka? That is the mode. They cannot commute from one place to the other without the use of the Amoka. And even in the Amoka itself, they are not even safe, because these things we have demonstrated that we can completely rubbish them when we want. We can completely rubbish the Amoka. So they have chosen to completely avoid any contact with those they claim to lead. When was the last time you saw a DO going out to meet the population again, or a governor going out to meet the population? They don't do it. So they are not in control. So anybody who thinks that things are normalizing, no, things are not normalizing, and things will not normalize until we decide that things will be normalized. And now, one other thing I want us to talk about, Chairman Patrick, is and I'm glad to see Chairman Jackson on now. Maybe I should give him a minute to maybe say something about Chairman Jackson. If you've been listening to us, you may have something to say about any of the topics we've discussed so far before we advance to our next topic. Chairman Jackson, please.
No, let me just greet Chairman Patrick and you. Sorry, I just got in. Probably we'll let it just progress. I will come back to make some comments.
Okay. All right, good. So I was going to say that we've had some unfortunate things happen to our brave liberation fighters on the ground. Some of these things happen as a result of their own very mistakes. So I thought that we should go through some of the things that, as a liberation fighter, as an Ambazonian, a genuine Ambazonian liberation fighter, the things that you must not do, the things that you have to avoid. As an Ambazonian liberation fighter, the things you must avoid, because we have seen these mistakes that have caused the lives of many of our fighters on the ground, and some don't seem to have learned from these mistakes. So I would like to just go through some of these things. You see, because I think as an Ambazonian liberation fighters, you must not harass, you must not extort, you must not molest, you must not intimidate, or worse still, you must not kill those very people that you are fighting to liberate. It is counter-revolutionary. It defeats the purpose of your own very existence. When you go out and you harass, you extort, you molest, you collect ransoms, you intimidate, or worst case scenario, you kill anybody that you are supposed to be fighting to liberate. It is not a good thing for any restoration fighter to do. That is number one. Number two, you must not allow greed or the love of money to guide your decision making. When you allow greed or the love of money to guide your decision making, you are allowing yourself to be tempted by the enemy. We have seen many fighters who have been lured with the promise of a payout or the collection of some ransom. And at the point of collecting that ransom, they are killed. We have seen fighters who have been killed by the enemy, and millions of the colonial CFA are taken from their phones. And the same fighters are there making audios and videos complaining that they lack the resources with which to defend themselves. And when you have that much money and you refuse to buy the tools that are supposed to enable you to defend yourself, I think it is just foolish. It is foolish. When you have so much money on you, you have not used that money to acquire things that will protect you. You keep the money and the enemy comes and kills you and takes the money. It makes no sense. That is something that a true, genuine liberation fighter must not do. You must not do. Number three, you avoid the consumption of illegal drugs and the consumption of excessive alcohol, because it impairs your reasoning, it impairs your thinking, and it gives you a false sense of security, thereby exposing you to unnecessary risk. Avoid the consumption of illegal drugs, excessive alcohol. It impairs your thinking. It makes you vulnerable. And it makes it easy for the enemy to have access to you. And then you make bad decisions and you get killed in the process. These are things that you must avoid as a genuine liberation fighter. You must be disciplined to avoid these things. Number four, never betray your cause, the cause for which you are fighting, or your brothers and sisters in arms. You must never betray them. You must not betray them. The worst thing you can do is to become a traitor. The worst thing you can do is to become a traitor, or what we call a black leg or enabler. That is the very worst thing you can do. You must avoid such things. When you do that, it is tantamount to treason. And you know what a treasonous act, the penalty for a treasonous act in any country, it is very severe. You must avoid it. These are things that every liberation fighter must avoid. You must never betray your cause. Never betray a cause for the liberation of the Southern Cameroons. Never betray your brothers and sisters in arms. It is tantamount to treason. Number 5, avoid mounting roadblocks or checkpoints or control, as you call it. They expose you to unnecessary risk and to the enablers and blacklegs that the enemy has out there. This idea of mounting roadblocks for the collection of money, we have lost, I would say, hundreds, if not thousands of fighters to this reckless behavior. You mount a roadblock, a car is coming, you don't know who is in the car. And before you know it, the enemy jumps out and takes you down. These are mistakes that we must avoid. These are just the 5 things that all Ambazonian restoration fighters must avoid that I've outlined for today. We will continue to add to this list in the days ahead. But Chairman Jackson, you just came in, so I'll give you the honor to respond to these points that I've raised here, which I think for some time we have not reiterated these points as vehemently as we should. And as a result, some of our brave warriors have fallen, especially those who choose not to listen even when they are given this advice. What more can you tell our brave warriors on the ground with regards to these points that I've raised here? Chairman Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Mike. You really adequately threw some good light on those. But I just want to add here that some of the things you said, they are not particular to only the fighters that are in Ambazonia. These are universal precautions. They are universal in any people that find themselves in such a situation, and and these are things that these guys, they know that they have to take their safety into their own hands, and they are reckless about it. So when you do stupid things like this, then you know that you're not taking care of your own safety. But I'll add that when you say you are a guerrilla fighter and you are rebelling against the state, and you have to be a guerrilla. A guerrilla does not stay in the market in bars.
Mm-hmm.
A guerrilla is supposed to be that person that appears and disappear and carry their work and carry whatever they want to do. But we've noticed that some of the boys, they carry AK-47. They are walking around town. They show off. They're trying to live a life like the normal people. When you know that you're not a normal person because the government and the military is looking for you, but you want to live as a normal person, how do you make the two things together? And that's how most of them are falling. And I will tell you another thing that some people will be maybe going to find funny. Most of these fighters, because of what they do, they're almost like idols, and some of these young girls, they cherish them a lot, and from there they just feel like they're going to be going out with every girl that comes their way, and this is how they're getting them pregnant all the time, and they're having babies. But my question is, you're supposed to be a guerrilla fighter and you're having babies. Now you're struggling to raise a child. I'm not saying that people should not have babies, but when you choose a course like that, it's something that you have to be very, very secretive. But when you get yourself exposed, and what does the military do? They just go, they find out who is your girlfriend or who is your baby mama, and they go there and they tell you, and you die. And this is things that's been happening. But what is so funny to me is that just like that, the one you illustrated about the roadblocks and checkpoints, in the same camp, 3 boys will fall on the road for mounting roadblocks. The 4th one will still go and do the same thing. And for the It's like I don't understand the sense of responsibility for this guy. What are they doing? What are they doing? Somebody just fell because he was mounting a roadblock on the Bamenda Eko road. The next person goes there, and the military kill him. The third person, and then they still go there. You know. So let us continue to advise and tell them that if this is what they choose to do, but they should be careful and take their security into their own hands. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely, Chairman Justin. As well said. I have always said that as a guerrilla fighter, you are supposed to pass to your destruction is supposed to be like that of the wind. Okay, you are supposed
Yeah.
they're supposed to see you knocking down trees, but without seeing you, you are supposed to be invisible. Nobody is. You are supposed even to live in the community without anybody knows you are a liberation fighter. It's not something that you go out there and it's now like something that is used for bragging rights. That's not the way it's supposed to be. You are supposed to just go out there, do your thing, come back. Nobody knows what you have done, who you are. It is your action alone. Okay? It's not something that you're supposed to go out there and stand on the street and show your chest that I'm this, I'm that. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Chairman Patrick, what do you have to say to this?
Well, Comrade Mike, one advice I'm going to give to these fighters on the ground is the fact that if you have read anything about liberation wars or guerrilla fighting, people that have seen that will tell you a guerrilla fighter is a teacher, a guerrilla fighter is a doctor, a guerrilla fighter is a taxi driver. They do their normal daily activity and nobody knows what they do after hours.
Later on.
They go after hours, they carry on missions, and they are back to their base. The next day, they are going to their office in their cars like nothing happened the night before. But our guys, I would even to an extent blame some of our fighters to have prolonged this liberation war because when they started, they were fighting genuinely until they start realizing that they can start making more money prolonging the war instead of making roadblocks and carrying on actions that are counterproductive, which is financing them. And those who have all made all that money, where are they today? If you, I would bet with you, somebody like Efang, who was going to Pinyin and carrying people's cows, who was going to other places and carrying people's cows, he must have so much money that he has buried somewhere. But he's now gone, and that money is rotting in somewhere where he could have used that money to buy equipment for his fighters. If you look at most of what has happened for so many years now, is these fighters say, "Oh, this is my territory, this is my area." They are becoming more territorial than a male lion. But what is happening? They get comfortable in that territory. They know the girls in the area are looking at them like, "Oh, these are amber fighter. They are making some money." I think Chairman Jackson might know this. I have a really good, some good friends in Ground One who have given me information about some of these our guys. Out there, one of our guys was in Ground One. He was dating one of the police commissioner because they know when the amber fighters are in Ground One, they are millionaires because the amount of money that they were carrying, that they're going to go get equipment, and they are there for 6 months, 3 months, just spending money, living in expensive hotels and other places. So our fighters should know you can fight today and live tomorrow. But if you choose to follow money, tomorrow you might not be there to enjoy that money. This war can be prolonged. The diaspora is going to do whatever they can to finance those who are fighting, to push this war to the final end. But you who is on the ground fighting, if you do not take this seriously, knowing that you have to defend yourself, but you focus on making money, one day you will not be around to live and have this money. So it is all your decision. Anybody telling you from diaspora, go and do this to somebody and collect money, go and do this, they are putting you in a trap of death. So our fighters should know this is a liberation war. This is not something you have to romance with. You are a guerrilla fighter. You cannot even expose yourself. Don't, all those who are talking, I'm general this, I'm colonel this, put yourself in a place where nobody will even know you are a fighter. People can see you during the day, doing your thing. They will never know what you do after hours because the enemy will never be ready when they don't know you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, the key word is secrecy, secrecy, secrecy. It's not a thing for bravado. It's not about beating your chest and showing you are an amber fighter. It is about that is one thing I have to say before we move on from this topic is this: uh, any 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 military that is not disciplined, no matter how skilled it may be, is doomed to fail. So, as a restoration fighter, especially those who are commanders, it is your responsibility to discipline those who are under you, to make sure they are doing the right thing. When you allow them to go out there and take part in activities that are not commensurate with the liberation of our homeland, things that are counterproductive, you are not just they are not just exposing themselves, they are exposing you, their commander or their general. So it is your responsibility to make sure that they are disciplined, that they are doing the right thing. And when somebody goes out there and does something that is wrong, you have to discipline them, to set an example so others will not emulate that bad behavior. That is what you must do. You, as generals and commanders, you discipline those who are under you, and the message will go down so others will not copy the bad example. Now, I think we would like to end it there on that topic. One other thing that I would like for us to talk about is this fundraiser that has been announced severally, this Momo fundraiser. We know that Momo has been plagued with a lot of difficulties for the past few years. Momo that used to be very powerful, Momo that used to be very resourceful in this struggle, for the past few years has found itself wanting, coming up short in terms of results. And not just that, but actually caught in a quagmire of criminality by some who would like for us to believe that they are fighters, but they were doing something else. And for quite some time, we know what has happened recently. We know of the Guza massacre. We know of the Krugwe atrocities. And some of those bad actors have been taken out. But there is the need for Momo to reorganize and restructure and bring some semblance of order and discipline, especially to bring some relief to the people of Momo. And for quite some time now, we've been trying to see how we can come up with this structure. And a good number of comrades, not just within this interim government, but Momo in general, have been talking to each other and trying to see how this can be organized. And finally, a fundraiser was scheduled for this Sunday, the 28th of July, to raise funds in order to equip those who have been identified as genuine restoration fighters who will go out there and do what is good for the people and for Momo as a whole. So I will pass the opportunity over to Chairman Jackson and Chairman Patrick, who are here to throw more light on this fundraiser and to urge all Mormons to come out this Sunday and support this initiative. If you have been someone who have been turned off by the atrocities that we saw in Busan, by the atrocities that we saw in Krugwe, and you want to see some as a restructuring of Momo to bring into place fighters who will do the right thing, for the liberation of our homeland, then it is only incumbent on you to come out this Sunday and support this fundraiser. So, Chairman Jackson, you are the chairperson for Momo at this time. I would like for you to take the lead and talk to your people. Talk to them in a language they will understand why it is important for them to come out this Sunday.
Comrade Mike, I just want to say this is an opportunity for the Momo people to understand that for years we have stood the time of every adversary in our county. We've had challenges, but right now we have all given Momo children the opportunity to come together and say, this liberation war started. The popcorn started in Momo, and some of the fighters who were brainwashed by some of the diaspora leaders have made some mistakes in Momo, but it's a moment for all of us to reflect on it, come back together and fight like never before. We have talked about, we even got into our meeting to say we are not even giving a dime to any fighter on the ground. But we have all realized that if you fall, you do not stay on the ground. You find a way to get up, even if you have to hold a stick or grab a snake, whatever is available. But the only problem is you can never get to your destination if you stop walking. So right now we are coming together this Sunday to raise funds for the fighting force in Momo, and we are expecting, and we are calling on every son and daughter of Momo from Gi, Widukum, Mogamo, and Jikwa, and Menemo to come out massively and contribute towards this liberation war. We want you to come out as strong as Momo has always been. We want you to reflect on everything that we've gone through and say, this is my moment. This is an opportunity for me to say we are rekindling the fire in Momo, and we are all going to do it as a team. It doesn't matter whatever county, whatever part of Ambazonia you are, we will expect. We want you to come back to Momo, come to Momo and support Momo, because the fire is about to begin in Momo as it was at the beginning of this revolution. We are not going to relent. We are not leaving any son and daughter of Momo behind. We are going to fight as one person to liberate Ambazonia. And we cannot fight if we do not have the financing. So we are expecting every son and daughter of Momo to come out this Sunday, come out strong, and make sure you contribute for our liberation. So thank you so much for everyone who is listening today. Thank you to Chairman Jackson for joining us. I know you're going to be giving your own word about this fundraiser that we have for Momo this Sunday. But remember, every son and daughter of Ambazonia is welcome, and we're inviting you to be there with us on Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Patrick. I hope the Momons are listening. Chairman Jackson, over to you. Chairman Jackson, are you there? Talk to your people about the importance of this fundraiser, about the importance of them coming out this Sunday to support it, so that we can drive out the criminal elements that have been molesting the people of Momo all this while, and bring some normality to their lives and avoid these unnecessary lockdowns that they have suffered for so long now. I think this has been going on for more than 2 years, and I know that with some of the rogue elements taken out, there has been some relief, but it's not enough yet. We need to really make sure that these atrocities are henceforth prohibited or stopped. So I think Chairman Jackson may be away from his seat. We'll give him a moment to regain his seat. In the meantime, on other news, I think we also heard some very irresponsible statements coming from Bishop Nkia with regards to our liberation struggle. He thinks that most of the leaders in the diaspora are not very conversant with what is going on the ground. But you will note that even Bishop Nkia, who is on the ground, up till now, has not done anything as a major religious leader that will go towards bringing some results or addressing the concerns of the people of the Southern Cameroons as when they came out in 2018. We have seen other religious leaders, the likes of Martin Luther King, Bishop Desmond Tutu, who were willing to speak up against evil. As a religious leader, that is your responsibility to speak up against evil. But we have seen severally those in La Republique of Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons who have chosen the comfort of the enemy and will stand by and watch as their people are molested and tormented and killed. Houses are burned down, they do nothing. Children are shot in the head, they said nothing. And they come out to blame others who are far away for things that are being done by people on the spot, people with whom they wine and dine. And this is the kind of hypocrisy that has completely turned off some people from these, some of these religious denominations. Because when you juxtapose the lifestyle of these so-called men of God with that of Jesus they are supposed to be serving, you see that there's just a great disparity. There's just no resemblance at all. I wonder what Jesus would do if he were to walk the face of the earth today in the Southern Cameroons. Will he side with La Republique of Cameroon against the people of the Southern Cameroons who are being unjustly persecuted, exploited? Will Jesus favor La Republique of Cameroon against the people of the Southern Cameroons? That is the question I would like to ask Bishop Nkia. What would Jesus do if he were to walk the face of the earth today in the Southern Cameroons? Will he say the things that Bishop Nkia is saying? And if not, then who is he serving? Who then is he serving? Is he a true representative of Christ here on earth? If so, then he must do what Christ will do. He must do what Christ will do. Because I don't think that Jesus will come to if he were to walk the face of the earth today, knowing that La Republique of Cameroon has taken and taken and taken from the Southern Cameroons unjustly, will stand and support La Republique against the people of the Southern Cameroons. I don't think Jesus will do that, or even to stand aside and not do anything. Remember, when Jesus was crucified, it was not because he said he was the Son of God. It was a political assassination. It was a political assassination because the Pharisees who were in charge at the time saw him as a threat. They saw him as a threat and they wanted to do away with him. So they had to come up with trumped-up charges in order to kill him. And people like Bishop Nkia, I believe if they were in the days of Jesus, there would have been some of those shouting, "Crucify him, crucify him." That is what Bishop Nkia would have been saying. And today they are pretentiously saying that they are serving Christ when their lifestyle does not resemble that of Christ in any way at all. They do not represent any of the character traits that Jesus had here on earth. Serving the very poor and the underprivileged, the marginalized, the exploited. That is who Jesus came to serve. Who is Bishop Nkia serving? Who is he serving? That is the hypocrisy of the church today, where they go after fame, wealth, and you name it. And the very things that were despised by Jesus are the things that they cherish today. And they want us to believe that they're Christians. No, they are not Christians. If Bishop Kia was a true Christian, he would have already spoken up against the evils of La République du Cameroon, which are many. Even faced with danger, he would have spoken up, but he has not had the courage to do it. But he will turn around and try to criticize people who are victims themselves. That's the hypocrisy of the Catholic Church and others too. Chairman Jackson, I don't know if you're back now. I don't know if you're back. If not, Chairman Jackson, I think we have covered everything that we came out to talk about today. If you would like to summarize your statements, then we will call it a day. Chairman Patrick. Chairman Patrick, I hope you are not frozen. It seems Chairman Patrick is frozen. I think Chairman Patrick is frozen. So, ladies and gentlemen, we started off by encouraging, by talking about what is happening in the Sahel, where ECOWAS and the African Union wants to tie the hands of the leaders of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. This is the stupidity of the African continent that continues to make decisions that favor others instead of their own people. But let us stand in solidarity with the people of Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. They are doing the right thing by their people. They are fighting to liberate themselves just as we are fighting to liberate ourselves from the domination of La République Cameroon and France. And I think they are doing the right thing. We ought to encourage and support them. And now, with regards to La République Cameroon Geo calling for protesters to be deported, well, it is what it is. Let them deal with their own mess. It has nothing to do with us. Let them deal with it. Now, again, I would like to emphasize the 5 items. Okay, Chairman Patrick, you are back. Your final statements, please, before I summarize, so we can get out of here.
Well, again, thank you so much, Chairman Mike. I just want to say Archbishop Kia is demonstrating why Africans are now perishing because of Christianity. If Bishop Kia was a Christian, was a somebody who knows the Bible gives us what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to behave as people of the society, Bishop Kia would have stood up for the oppressed. He would have spoken his mind like somebody that cares about the people. Even if he was not from Southern Cameroon, he should have stood up in that country and said, wrong is wrong, right is right. But he has demonstrated that he is just more of a politician, an opportunist. We saw this. Archbishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa stood up against apartheid. They tormented him a few times here and there, but he stood his grounds and apartheid was eliminated in that territory. So that takes me to what is going on in Amazonia. We have a draft coming up on Sunday for Momo. We have fighters in Momo who have done a great job. We have others who are sons and daughters of Momo who are going around still torturing some of their people. Our goal is to make sure we put some sanity, we put some order in the minds of the fighters in Momo, in the minds of every son and daughter of Momo to understand that Ambazonia Liberation War is going to be fought in every aspect of our territory, every corner. We cannot relent in Momo, we cannot relent in Goketunja, we cannot relent in Bui, Ondian. We are going to fight. If we raise funds in Momo and we know there is a need in Ngoketunja or there is a need in other parts, we are going to make sure we are giving every support to the fighters in these areas so that we move forward. Because, like I said earlier, you can never get to your destination if you stop walking. You can never do the same thing and expect different results. You have to change your mentality, change the tactics, and plan accordingly. Because that is the only way we're going to beat La Republic, kick La Republic out of our territory, and build a country that each and every Amazonia will have the same opportunity and they will all be progressing as one man. Thank you so much, Comrade Mike and Chairman Jackson, who is not here. I just want to say, Amazonia, let's get together and do this for our own people.
Absolutely, absolutely, Chairman Patrick. Absolutely. Again, I would just like to emphasize on these points again that we had mentioned earlier, because the lack of respect of these points has caused the death of many of our restoration fighters, and we want to avoid this going forward. So please, please, our people are your protection. Our people are your protection. Take care of them. They will take care of you. They are your safety. They will be. They will be the watchman that is out there watching for you. So when the enemy is coming, they will warn you. So you treat them well, they will also return the favor. But when you treat them poorly, you are creating enablers and blacklegs who will betray you and get you killed. So avoid harassing, extorting, molesting them, intimidating, or even killing them. That is not the way a genuine restoration fighter ought to behave. Now, again, never allow greed or the love of money to guide your decision making. You may have the money, but you may not live to enjoy the money. And we have seen those examples. There are many. Now, avoid taking things that would tamper with your normal reasoning, like drugs and alcohol. Excessive alcoholism is bad for you. Avoid that so that you can maintain your sanity, think clearly, know where you are going, when you are going, and avoid mistakes that can be deadly to you. Now, never ever betray the cause for the liberation of the Southern Cameroon and Bazonia, and never betray your own very comrades. That means you have to avoid being traitors or blacklegs and enablers. It is treasonous, not a good thing to do. And then avoid these roadblocks and checkpoints that you mount out there. You expose yourself to the enemy and they come and kill you. It is foolhardy just because you are greedy and want to extort a few, maybe some currency from road users. You go and expose yourself and you don't even get to enjoy it because you get killed in the process. It is not worth it. Avoid it. You are supposed to be felt by the enemy, not seen, and not even be seen by ordinary citizens. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that the information we have been able to put out here will make some sense. You can take it and use it and share it, especially with our restoration fighters. Continue to advise them. If you are a commander, it is your responsibility to make sure that you continue to drive these messages to your fighters, making sure they are doing the right thing for themselves and for the struggle. Because when they are hurt, the struggle is hurt. Make sure they are behaving well, they are disciplined, focused, patriotic, result-oriented, and doing the right thing for the liberation of the Southern Cameroon and Bazonia. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I say take good care of yourselves, and as you do so, take care of each other. And with that, the war zone is out. Good night.